Hey guys, welcome to Our Redeemed Life, and like, subscribe, share this if it blesses you. I am coming today because we're going to have some lessons from the kitchen. I have a lot of people message me about all the baking that I do and the cooking that I do, and it's just stuff that I learned when I was growing up. I think it's really important to cook with our kids. My mom actually never cooked with us. She didn't, she had 8 kids, so she didn't allow us in the kitchen. And I could kind of see why, because, that's like mayhem and makes the chore even worse or longer, right? But from the time I was growing up, I always enjoyed trying to cook in the kitchen. And then once I had my own children, I had my kids from the very beginning. Even before they could walk, I had them sitting on the counter with me when I was cooking. So I'm not like a great cook. I cook because it's necessary, and I wanted my kids, and still do, want my family to eat healthy. That's how I grew up. We rarely ever ate out when I grew up. It was a very big deal if we did. I actually don't even remember going out as a family. It might have been just like me and my mom and dad once everybody was out of the house, but it was just too expensive to go out, with 8 kids. So, and with my kids, I just wanted them to eat healthy. I wanted them to learn those things from the get-go, because what you teach your kids when they're young is what they're going to do when they're older. And they may depart from it for a little while, right? I departed from it. I was very restricted on sugary things. I mean, my mom made everything from homemade sugar, like treats like pies and breads and things like that, but we rarely, until I was like a teenager and could buy it myself, I didn't get things like Twinkies or sugar cereal or soda or anything like that. We just didn't have that in our house. And so once I got out on my own, of course, I binged and did all the things. And then the minute I had my daughter, I just kind of, all those memories that my mom had instilled in me, all the things that she taught me, kind of flooded back. And I was like, wait, I don't want to teach my kids to eat this way. I don't want to eat that in front of them because I don't want them to eat that. Tried not to have certain things in the house. Of course, there's always wiggle room because, we crave things, right? And so I'm not saying I raised my kids without sugar or treats, because I tried to have a balance. I tried to let them have, like when we traveled, I bought sugar cereal for road trips. And when we ate in the hotels, I would let them have a sugar cereal. They got pop once in a while, not very often. We didn't buy it in the house. And then they were able to have candy and stuff like for certain occasions. And when we traveled, especially traveling is a big deal for us. And we always traveled in a car, traveled out of a cooler, or ate out of a cooler. And so I would make fun treats for that, do it special. They still associate Twizzlers with road trips because that was the only time they got them, and just to make those kind of things special. So they didn't get it all the time, but your children watch what you do. So what you do matters. And if you're eating out all the time or getting fast food all the time or cooking fast food or cooking lots of processed things, that's all they're going to know. Like, our kids absorb everything, even though they might be playing in another room. You think that they're not paying attention to what you say. You think they're not paying attention to what you do. And it matters. All my kids are grown. They're all married. They're all out of the house. And I could see like little things that they do that I never thought that they grasped or noticed. And they're doing it now as adults. It's pretty cool, and it just really shows us how important it is, how we run our household. And so cooking is a great, I was a homeschool mom for most of the kids' lives, not all, but most of it. And what I learned with that is the things that we do matter. And going shopping, lots of people just have their groceries delivered now. There's always a time and a place for it. It's an amazing service. But when we do that all the time, what are we teaching our children? That we, when we go to the store, we interact with people. It's like learning how to say, excuse me, learning how to talk to a manager if needed, or learning how to talk to the clerk. When we take our children to the store, we're teaching them about shopping. We're teaching them how to choose produce, how to look at a bad apple versus a good apple. We're teaching them how to make discerning choices, how to spend our money. There was lots of times where I would have my kids make a grocery list for if I said, okay, you have to make this, you have to make one meal this week or 2 meals this week from a very young age. My kids were tasked with that. And then I would have them make a grocery list, and then they would have to go to the store with me and then choose like, okay, well, this ingredient is better quality. It's a little bit more expensive. Which are we going to choose? What's more important, quality or downright cheap, right? And so I always tried to teach them about quality because quality matters. Our bodies matter. We only get one, and what we put into it is going to be reflected later on in life in our health, our movement, our ability to stay active and engaged in life and society. And so, but what we teach our kids by going to the store is crucial. It's really, really important to teach our kids how to shop, how to make choices, how to look at different options and make the best choice for your family, whatever that is. It doesn't, I don't make those choices for people, right? And so that is, even if you don't homeschool your kids, when you take them to the store, whether it's clothes shopping, furniture shopping, my kids, I was a widowed single mom of 5, so my kids went everywhere with me, and they saw me make decisions. They saw me choose this couch over this couch, this bag of potatoes over this bag of potatoes, and I would usually be discussing with them why. Like, okay, this is a little bit more expensive, but I know that it was grown properly. I know that it doesn't have pesticides on it. We're going to make this choice, and we're just going to do things that make them stretch. Eating at home makes things stretch more. Especially in times like this, it makes your budget last longer when you do things from scratch. And a lot of people say, well, I don't cook. I don't know how to cook. I don't make my own recipes up, rarely. A couple times I have, but most of the time I take a recipe and I just adjust it. If I make it for the first time and I'm like, I would have rather had carrots in that or whatever, then I'll adjust it the second time. I always print out my recipes. This is just a really quick, easy tip. And you get these paper covers from like Walmart, wherever you shop for your office supplies. And I have a box of them that I've had for probably 10, 15 years. I don't use that many. And you just cover the recipes. I only print out recipes if I've made them, I like them, and I want to make them again. It's the only time I print out a recipe. I don't do that otherwise. And then you put them in these, and so it's protected, so I can spill something on it and just wipe it off. It's a great way, whether you put it in a binder or not. These are made for binders. I do have a cooking binder, but I also just have a stack of recipes that I cook pretty often. This is a paleo scone recipe. Paleo Running Mama is a great place for paleo recipes. I love her stuff, and so I just print it out and I keep it out because I make them pretty often. But just going back to the importance of teaching your kids, you're teaching your kids to budget. You're teaching your kids to make wise choices. You're teaching your kids how to look at all the things around them and make good decisions. So shopping may seem like tedious, irritating. My kids were just not allowed to choose things. They didn't get something every time they went to the store. I didn't allow that. And so they never expected it, right? Kids go with what they're allowed to do. So if you don't allow something, generally it's pretty well accepted because they know, okay, well, mom's not going to allow that, right? I just didn't want them to have something every time we went to the store. I didn't want them to think that that was a thing. And I also didn't have the money to do that, right? With 5 kids. So today I am making, we eat pretty simply. We eat a lot of vegetables, fruit. We grow our own stuff. So we eat pretty simple meals. I try to use a lot of herbs and flavors. But my daughter recently in California made chicken pot pie, and my husband loved it, loved it. So we do eat gluten-free. My husband doesn't necessarily need to, but I do. So I already did this because the video would be too long otherwise. I made a half a recipe of gluten-free crust. So the crust is like for a full pie crust and the top, but I ran out of my gluten-free 1-to-1 flour, and I have more coming, but I ran out of it, so I only had enough to make a half a recipe. That was perfect for us because I could make two. I can't find my ramekins, so I'm just using 2 oven-safe dishes. These are like single servings, so this will be for him, this will be for me. Half a recipe for the crust was perfect. It worked really well. And so then I'm going to use the filling. I made this just the regular way. I didn't make it dairy-free because even though I'm dairy-free, my husband is not. It's not very much dairy, so that wasn't a big deal to me. And it's cooked, and generally my stomach can handle it a little bit better if it's cooked. So I'm going to fill this. And this recipe actually is not a gluten-free crust recipe. So most of the time I take a recipe and I just use my gluten-free 1-to-1 flour. Right now I currently use King Arthur, but I have 2 new flours that I have on order that are being shipped to me this week because I wanted to try something different and just to see if they changed with using a different type of flour. I want to see, like, sifting absolutely changes your muffins, your cake, when you sift your flour. I was taught to do that when I was growing up, and then as I had more kids and was in a rush and just going through the kitchen, I just stopped doing it, and I realized that I need to start doing it again because it really makes a difference with the flour. It makes your muffins and your cakes lighter and fluffier. So I'm going to put this top on here. Didn't do a very good job. So this is, I'm not actually really good at crusts. I do make pies, but not very often. They're not my favorite. I eat them once in a while. We only use coconut sugar in our house. About probably 15, 17 years ago, I was having lots of joint pain, lots of inflammation, and through having some muscle testing done, I realized that my body just can't handle processed sugar. So even though I was always making things from scratch, the processed sugar depletes all my energy. I have if I were to even get like a half of a teaspoon of processed sugar in my mouth, immediately I have no energy. Like I can't do anything, nothing. I have to lay down. And then I get inflammation everywhere. My joints hurt, my muscles hurt, everything hurts. I have to use essential oils to get the inflammation down and to feel better again. So I just don't do it. It's just not worth it for me. I can eat coconut sugar or pure maple syrup or raw honey, and that doesn't bother me at all. And it doesn't deplete my energy, so my body can handle that. You just gotta learn to listen to your body, right? That is the biggest thing. You know when something's going on. Like I ate a sandwich last night. I'll tell you this. I put a tomato on there, and the tomato had been in the fridge for a couple days, just a few days. And normally I would buy organic tomatoes. This tomato just happened to not be organic. We had some people over. That was all I could get at the store that I had stopped at the time. And so I just had 3 slices of this tomato. The rest was just my gluten-free bread and some mayonnaise, actually. It's just mayonnaise. My avocado oil mayonnaise, tomato, and my gluten-free bread. And so I ate that last night for dinner, and all of a sudden I was so dizzy, I was so nauseous, my stomach hurt so bad, and it was quite clear that there was something wrong with the tomato. Is the only thing that I could imagine. The mayo was brand new. I just opened it. Didn't smell bad. the gluten-free bread was new, just out of the freezer, wasn't bad. And the only thing was this tomato, right? So I immediately took charcoal, because you should have activated charcoal tablets in your house at all times, because it was like food poisoning immediately. And normally if I just have a stomach ache, I would take Digest essential oil and that would calm it down. But this was bad. Like, I really did not feel great immediately. Kind of a sign of food poisoning where you get sick immediately. You feel like you can't control what's going to come out of you in all directions. And so I took like 3 tablets of activated charcoal. I actually have a detox tea that's made with activated charcoal, so I drank 2 cups of that. And then within like 20 minutes, I didn't feel great, but I felt 100% better than I did initially after I ate. And so I always recommend having activated charcoal in your house. It is something that should be in everyone's house, just for times when you eat something, or maybe if a child gets into a medication. We don't have any medications in our house, but it's a great binder to get whatever you don't want in you out quickly. And even if you're sensitive to like dairy, gluten, you can take that if you've digested some and it's upsetting your stomach and you maybe didn't know that it was in a recipe. It's a great binder to get that out of you quickly too. So I always recommend having activated charcoal in your kitchen. It's a must-have. So now I've made these little pot pies, individual pot pies. I'm going to put an egg wash on them to make them all pretty. And that's just some milk and egg, and you can just do egg too. I've done that, and it just gives it a nice brown crust. It's going to look really sweet. I'm actually going to use this for the scones as well, so I'm not going to waste it. We have farm fresh eggs from our chickens, so we don't want to waste it. So these are going to go in the oven. And now I'm going to bring out my scones, and I'm going to put in a pan for you guys. So I am making paleo scones, and I love this recipe. It's actually a recipe for these are blueberries. So blueberries that we got from Michigan last year. And this is our last bag. So now I'm gonna have to start using different fruit, because we've pretty much eaten this. We eat about 30 pounds of blueberries over the winter, I would say. During the summer, we use a little bit more, but during the winter. So for scones, I should have done this on the pan. For scones, you make a circle. I'm just going to flip this on here. Any kind of scone recipe that you want is pretty amazing. You're going to make a circle. I've got enough for 2. And then I'm going to brush it with this egg wash. And then you're going to score it before you put it in the oven. And again, these are completely paleo, no dairy. It's made with coconut sugar and almond flour, a little bit of arrowroot powder, some coconut flour. And we're just going to score it a little bit. And then we're going to put it in the oven. The oven's already set. And then we're going to see how they turn out when we get done. Hey guys, while we're waiting for those scones to be done and the pot pies, I have another cookie recipe. These are all just like common sense things. So you guys can be watching this and be like, of course we know to do that. And that's great. Sometimes people don't know. That's what they tell me. And so what I do to save time in the kitchen, because even though all my kids are grown, I still run my own business. I still help with my grandkids. I love to travel and still need to serve my husband. So it's just like, a lot of things. And I'm busier now, I think, than when I was homeschooling all my kids. But time savers, guys. Make a batch. Like today's a rainy day. I'm just kind of stuck at home. It's a rainy day. Even if it wasn't, taking one day out of the week or half a day, a morning, get up early, stay up late, whatever your time is. I like to bake at like late at night when the whole house is quiet. That's just my thing. Or I get up at like 4 in the morning and I'll do it at 4 in the morning when the house is quiet because I'm more of a morning person. And so I love I made my husband cookies yesterday. This is another paleo recipe for him, totally all coconut sugar and almond flour. And so I made some, and then I have the dough left over, and I'm gonna freeze the rest. So all you do is if I don't have a baking sheet that's small enough or narrow enough to put in my freezer, so I use this, and you just roll out the other ones so they're in balls, and then you're gonna stick them in the freezer, and they're going to freeze separately, and then you put them all in a bag. I label them, and then I have literally had people stop over unexpectedly, and I'm like, hey, do you want some cookies? I pull them out. Within 5 minutes, I can press them into a flat, circle, put them in the oven, and in 10 minutes, I have cookies that are fresh and hot. Or if we're having a really busy weekend and all of a sudden I realize I need some cookies for the week because we have a cookie jar that my husband loves to have filled and I want him to eat healthy. Like, this is the thing. We could go buy cookies. There are some paleo cookies that we really like, but they're literally $7 now. Insanity. So for pennies, I can make these, freeze the balls, take them out last minute. In 10 minutes, I can have hot cookies for something very quick, easy, or if I don't have enough time to make a batch. It doesn't take a lot of time to make a batch, but of course, sometimes you just don't have any time. So this is a great way to just freeze any kind of cookies. It doesn't have to be paleo. It could be any kind of cookies that you just, they're like sheet cookies. I guess you could freeze sugar cookies too that are put into shapes and just have them already in the shapes, put them on a tray. We love to freeze our fruit too. So the raspberries, when we pick them, we set them out on a tray, kind of space them out so that they don't clump together when we're putting them in the freezer for the winter. And so we put them on a tray, separate them, put them in the freezer like that, and then they all get frozen separately, and then you put them in a bag. Then you have like separate, without any kind of preservative or anything to make them that way. They just naturally do that when you freeze them and you just give them some space. So lots of ways to freeze things. I also freeze today's scone recipe called for lemon zest. I had just used my last lemon, so I have a bunch of limes. I'm just using what I have. So lime and blueberry, I think it's fine. My husband will tell me whether it's good, but he pretty much eats anything. So you can actually zest fruit ahead of time. So say you get a sale on lemons or limes and you use the zest for baking. I have zest in my freezer, so all you do is zest them ahead of time and lay it out on a cookie sheet again, freeze it. You can dehydrate it if you have a dehydrator. I have one, but I just freeze it because it's super easy. I freeze it on a tray, put it in small like snack bags, label it, and then when I'm making something that calls for lemon zest, I don't have to be like, oh, I forgot to get them at the store, or right now they're too expensive. So it's a great way to, I buy limes when they're like 10 for $1. So I get them, I freeze the zest, I use the juice for what I want it for, and I also freeze the juice. It's a great way to, if you find a sale on oranges, grapefruit, if you love the juice of whatever, I have a lot of recipes that I use from when I was growing up that call for orange juice, lemon juice, And so I juice them. I'll buy them in bulk when they're on sale. I juice them. I put them in ice cube trays, put them in the freezer, and then when I just need a tablespoon of orange juice for our famous like holiday cookie recipe, it's already in the freezer. I just take out an ice cube of it, use it. If I have to make like an orange chicken sauce that calls for orange juice, I have the oranges juiced already in a ice cube tray in the freezer, so I don't have to like run to the store, run to the local store, pay more money, get non-organic, which is not what I want. It is a great way to save time, money. You have them with you, you have them in your freezer. I have a daughter who's kind of traumatized with as much as I freeze things, but I don't leave them in there forever, but I do use them so that like right now I don't have lemons. Right now I don't have oranges in the house, but if I needed orange juice or orange zest or lemon zest, I have it in the freezer, and I just use my limes because they're going to go to waste otherwise. I bought them for a past event. We already used half of them, so I just used them in the scone recipe today. So that is also a great tip, to have things on hand, keep them in your freezer. It doesn't take up a lot of space. You can make small amounts if you don't use it that often. And I make pesto, so we grow basil in the garden, and we have it abundantly, so we use it fresh all throughout the summer. And then once our plants are getting done, then I bring it in, I make pesto. You can make it with different types of nuts. If you're allergic to almonds, you can make it with walnuts, you can make it with pecans, you can use pine nuts, which are pretty expensive, but if you can use that, and then make batches up, put them in ice cube trays, and freeze them. And then I always have fresh pesto that I've made ahead of time during the summer, and I have it all winter long. So anytime we're making pasta or sauces that we want pesto, or if we just want it for sandwiches, the ice cubes servings are great because you just have like an ice cube size amount if you're just putting it on your sandwich. If I needed it for 5 people, then I would take out like 5 ice cubes of the pesto. It's a great way to freeze. It's a great way to get it during the summer when it's abundant, when it's less expensive, and then you're able to enjoy that freshness and eating at home, making something from scratch. Takes 20 minutes to make a batch of pesto, and it will last you the whole winter by doing it ahead of time. Great money saving tips for eating healthier, eating at home, trying to make your budget stretch. That's what this is all about. It is so much cheaper even to buy grass-fed meat, organic produce. It is way cheaper than it is to go out to eat. It just is. Not that I don't like to go out to eat, but it's just way cheaper to do it at home. It feeds a lot more people. It'll make your budget stretch, and you'll be eating healthy, good, nutritious food that is good for you. All right, so we've got the scones out of the oven. They are a little darker brown because I put the egg wash on them, and they're not burnt. And a lot of times when you use coconut sugar, it does taste more like brown sugar, but it also gives your items a little bit darker coloring. That doesn't bother us at all because it's actually nicer. It tastes better than white sugar to us at this point, but this is just a little bit darker brown. This is the blueberry and lime scones. They are delicious, by the way. And they're perfect. So I'm gonna package those up in individual, wrap them in wax paper, and put them all in a Ziploc freezer bag in like a gallon size, and then I'm gonna freeze them. My husband can pull them out whenever he wants them, individually, so that they're wrapped separately. Wax paper is great for that. It's inexpensive. You can also use parchment paper, but for when I'm not cooking with it, because you don't want to put wax paper in the oven, obviously, you use parchment paper for that. Wax paper is cheaper, and he will have them individually wrapped for easy grab from the freezer by the time he gets to work or wherever he's going. We like to pack snacks like nuts and grass-fed meat sticks and fruit and things like that for, like, if we're just know that we're going to be in the car all day, even doing errands, we'll pack like a tiny cooler, put all of our snacks in there, like goat cheese, some gluten-free crackers, muffins like that. We do apples and cheese. We'll bring a couple apples. We always have a knife in the car so that we can cut items up. Especially when you're traveling, it is great to take like a tray, like a serving tray, like a wood serving tray. It is fantastic to take that, especially on road trips, because the person who's not driving can have that tray to make sandwiches. Nothing rolls off of you. You're on a steady, flat surface. We have found that to be an amazing addition to our road trips. So it's just like a serving tray that I had in the house. One day I just thought, I'm going to be making sandwiches. We're going to go on this long road trip, and I can have all like the mustard and our drinks and everything set out on this tray while I'm making our gluten-free sandwiches, while I'm cutting up cheese for our apples or whatever it is. And we take that with us every time we go anywhere now. It is fantastic. Such a great way to keep all your items on your lap on a flat surface, and then we just put it in the back when we're done. Super easy travel tip. We absolutely love it. And then we just don't eat out. Like, we don't want fast food. It's very hard to find healthy food when you're traveling. So we always pack as many snacks as we can. We bring some like special things that we like that we just travel with. But then we also bring our normal like things that we love to eat. And so it saves a lot of money when you're traveling, and it also keeps you with healthy food, because there's nothing healthy on the road generally. By the interstate, you're just not going to find it. So we've got our scones done. The pot pies are still in the oven, so they're not done yet. So I'm going to make some protein balls now, and I have made tons of different kinds. This is the kind that I love the most. This is the one that I have found that I like the most, this recipe. It uses protein powder. So for me personally, this is not an endorsement. This is just a protein powder that I use because it doesn't have any dairy in it. It is Paleo Valley bone broth, and it's made with bone broth, which I love, but it's also doesn't have dairy in it because it's just too much dairy for me when I use protein powders. Young Living has a great protein powder. It just has the protein complete, does have whey in it, so it's just too much for me personally, so I just don't use it. But it's going to call for a tablespoon of chocolate, or you could use vanilla protein powder. I just happen to have chocolate. It's going to call for peanut butter. So I just have a hard time with peanut butter sometimes. It's just, ever since we've had mold, peanuts are high in mold, even if you get organic. And so ever since I've had mold or been exposed to it, even after detoxing my body, I have a harder time with it. I eat a little bit of peanut butter because I love it actually, but it's just too much for all the time. So this is a cup of cashew butter, which is just easier for me to handle personally. You could use any kind of nut butter that you want. You could use sunflower seed butter. I just like cashew butter if I can't have peanut butter. So you can make your own. I've done that before too, but it's not something I do all the time because it takes time and a lot of nuts, and it's just easier and cheaper usually to get it out of a jar. So if you can find it on sale. So we're going to put a cup of nut butter. Again, for me, it was cashew butter. It's going to call for a third a cup of honey, and I just don't use it. I've made them before with honey, and they're fantastic, but I felt like the protein powder is sweetened with stevia, so it's got a little bit of sweetener taste to it. I don't need any more. Personally, for me, when I made them with honey, I felt like it was too much. And then it's going to call for, we store everything in jars. So all of our food gets stored in glass. You want to use as little plastic as possible. We've been doing that for probably 20-something years because plastic, all these plastics that we're exposed to, you know, we're drinking out of plastic water bottles, we're eating our food out of plastic, especially never, ever, never microwave in plastic, ever. Microwave's not bad for, and not good for you either, just because it kills all the nutrients in your food. We don't even have a microwave. I grew up without one. When we did have one, we had one in this house and I just got rid of it because we never used it and I really didn't want my kids to use it. So it really just kills all the nutrients in your food. You're basically radiating your food. So we basically, when the kids were growing up, we only used it to like heat hot water fast, but now we have a kettle for that. So we just heat up all our food. We heat up a lot of leftovers and we just heat it all up on the stove. Even like pancakes, when I make pancakes, I make a big batch at a time and I cook them all on a griddle because they taste better that way. And I make a big batch and then I freeze them. And then when I'm thawing them, I put them in the oven for 10 minutes and they are light and fluffy and perfect, just like as if you just made them. So freezing your pancakes too is a great time saver, although it doesn't take a lot of time to make pancakes, but then you just throw them in the oven on a tray for 10 minutes at 350 and they are perfect. They're light and fluffy, they're not soggy, they're not burnt, and it's a great way to reheat them quickly without using the microwave. So this recipe for these protein balls calls for a cup of oats, and I know it seems like I just have so many restrictions, but I can eat oats, but if I eat too much, it just makes me bloated and I don't feel my best. And so what I have done, I've made this recipe a number of times, a bunch of times, and I've done the oats before, but I tend to use these as a quick grab snack that I leave in the fridge in like a glass Tupperware type container, but it's glass. So I have these there for a quick protein source. So when I made them, so this is listening to your body, right? I found when I made them with oats, you know, if I ate 3 or 4 of them, then I would feel super bloated, not feeling the best, just knowing your body. I didn't feel great, and so wasn't necessarily in pain or anything, I just didn't feel great. So I just thought I'm gonna swap out the cup of oats for nuts instead. So I just use pecans instead of the oats. And then I'm eliminating the honey. It calls for a 1/4 cup of dark chocolate. You can eat, sometimes I use like dark chocolate. A lot of times I just use Lily's chips. No matter what flavor you like, you can use whatever flavor you want. Just kind of chop them up a little bit smaller than the normal chip size. Lily's are sweetened with stevia. If I had 100% dark chocolate chips, then I would use those as well. This is just what I have on hand today. I like using what I have on hand so I don't have to run to the store until I'm ready to. It's a great way to find out new recipes when you just use what you've got. Like the chicken pot pie I made with turkey because we had organic turkey left over in the freezer. And so you just use what you got, right? It's a great thing to teach your kids too, especially for times like these. I'm just so grateful that my parents lived through the Depression era because they knew what it was like. I think they took it to an extreme where they saved everything. And that was always a pet peeve of mine. I don't think I'm like that. I try to have a healthy balance, but in regards to making do with what you have or making use or not being wasteful is probably what they taught me the most. Is I don't like to be wasteful. So I will try to, I love never to make the same thing twice in a week. I don't necessarily like leftovers, but I eat them because I don't want them to go to waste. And it feels good when you know that you're not being wasteful. So I like to use what I have in my house until I can get to the store. And then of course I love trying new things. I'm a big foodie, so I love trying new recipes. I love trying new ingredients. But there's a balance of using what you got and making do. And in this time in history, I think it's a good lesson for our kids to see us, you know, create something new out of something old. Like we have this turkey here, and I don't want to eat turkey again because I don't really like it that much, actually. But so I'm going to invent something new with it, or make something new that our house hasn't had before, and that's turkey pot pie. Just because it's different, right? And so then it's going to call for 2 tablespoons of flaxseed. And again, we take it out of the package when we get it, and then we store it in jars. I'm going to do a separate video on how to seal your jars. And our chia seeds, 2 tablespoons, right? And then we have, I forgot. I have flaxseed, and you can use a coffee grinder to grind this if you want it a little bit smaller, but this is just whole cell crushed flaxseed, so it's crushed a little bit already. And if you're not going to use this often, I would throw it in the freezer. It's been in the fridge, but it's been unopened. Now I will probably take part of it out and then put part of it in the freezer just because it lasts longer. Store your rice in the freezer, label it, store it in the freezer. It'll last up to 30 years in the freezer. Your rice, we buy a lot of wild rice. My husband loves that. I buy jasmine rice, and so just want to store it in the freezer for if you're not using that much. So we save some in our jars, and then we put big bulk in our freezer. So this is the flaxseed. Where's my... Okay. So we're just going to stir it up. I'm going to use my hands to be quicker. And then we're going to make these protein balls, and I'm just going to put them on a flat surface. And we're going to roll them just like cookie dough. And again, you can use the oats if you like oats. You can use peanut butter if you like peanut butter better. You could use vanilla protein powder. You can use whatever flavors you like. It's just that's what I have. That's what I'm using. And then you're going to mix it up really good. And then you're going to make balls, and you don't cook them. I don't put them in the freezer. I just make them ahead of time for like a week or two's batch. My husband loves them. It's a great, like if you're just, getting ready for dinner, but you're just hungry for something, it's great to just grab one. If I'm running out the door early in the morning and I don't have time to eat breakfast, this has just got a lot of protein and vitamins and minerals in it, and healthy fats. I also generally add a little bit of coconut oil as well to keep them moist so they're not too dry. And then coconut oil is a medium chain fatty acid, so it's great. It's great for your body too. It helps your speed up your metabolism. And so I'm just gonna make circles. You can make them if they're for kids. You can make them as small or as big as you want. This one's a little bit too big. This is just a snack. So this is a snack. So just today, in the last few hours, I have made turkey pot pie. I have froze a batch of cookie balls for another day. I've made protein snack balls. I have made scones, blueberry scones to put in the freezer. Some he can eat when he gets home, or some he can, it'll be probably 2 or 3 weeks worth of scones in the freezer because it made a double batch. And so it'll be just individual scones that'll be in the freezer so that if I don't have time to bake again, I don't have to worry about it. It's in the freezer. He can just grab them. They're individually served. I've stocked up on my Zest. I've put that in the freezer. What else did I do? All in a day. I made a bunch of dog food, and I used to make our own dog food, and then I stopped. I don't want to be cooking for a dog because I cook for everybody else. But our dog is, gosh, she's between 14 and 16 now. She was kind of abandoned at our house years ago. And so she is getting so picky. We've gone through multiple dog foods and she's just not eating them. And so I've just been taking leftover meat that we have and then mixing them with rice and vegetables and steaming that all together and seeing if she'll eat that. And then just freezing servings until, or I just make a week's worth of servings and then put it in the fridge because she is just so picky right now. We're just doing what we can to get her to eat because every food that we buy her, even the fresh natural stuff, she's sticking her nose up at. It's crazy. So, all right, I got these protein balls all done and they're going to go in the fridge. Once they get a little bit more solid, I'll put them in a glass container. I got these glass containers. They're just like Tupperware. They've got a snap-on lid at Costco. This has some flour in it. And you're not using any plastic. You just want to stay away from plastic. It's an endocrine disruptor, disrupts your hormones. We need to make conscious steps to be healthy because we are inundated with toxins every day. And when we don't make conscious steps to be healthy, our body's going to be overloaded. We're going to start to have symptoms of headache, allergies, fatigue, respiratory issues, chronic inflammation. All of those are symptoms. Like pain is actually a good thing, guys. Did you know pain was a good thing? Because pain is our body's signal that something is wrong, that something's out of order, something needs attention. We tend to ignore things until they're screaming at us, right? So pain is our body's alarm system that says, hey, I need attention. I'm inflamed. You're eating too much of this. You're eating too much sugar. You're doing whatever. You're using too many fake scents, and your body is overloaded and it's trying to give you signals. So I hope you have a great day. I hope this video blesses you, tries to give you some more ideas. I am definitely not a perfection person. I just have learned a lot from my parents that kind of just grew up in an era where you had to make do, where you had to make things stretch. We kind of seem to be in another era like that again right now, and I would just love to bless you with that information. So like, comment, subscribe. Please share this video if it blesses you, and I hope you have a great week. Thanks.